8. Ill-gotten insects and lizards. In 2018, the Philadelphia Insectarium and Butterfly Pavilion was targeted in a strange heist that saw the removal of nearly 7,000 live insects, spiders, and lizards. An estimated 80 to 90% of the museum's collection disappeared, including deadly scorpions, highly venomous spiders, centipedes, and giant cockroaches, leaving the already struggling institution in dire financial straits and on the verge of collapse. The day he discovered the missing creatures, CEO John Cambridge also found several employee uniforms hanging from knives that had been stabbed into a wall, leading him to suspect that the alleged theft was an inside job. Surveillance footage of employees packing specimens into containers and leaving the property with them seemed to corroborate his theory. Cambridge suspected that the perpetrators were motivated by a desire to sell the bugs on the illegal exotic pet market, which is a highly lucrative industry that yields an estimated $20 billion per year in profits. When the story broke, the police were reportedly searching the suspects' homes for any surviving creatures. And while Cambridge expressed fears about the stolen specimens being treated with respect, the accused ex-employees later accused him of showing a lack of concern for the animals' well-being during their time working at the insectarium. In 2022, former Director of Animal Care Tricia Nichols told Y News that it was like pulling teeth to get Cambridge to provide adequate funding for everything from the creatures' food to proper lighting for the enclosures. Other former staff members made similar complaints and said they even brought in their own exotic pets to supplement the museum's inadequate collection. They claim they continued to feed and care for the pets at their own expense during that time, and that they took back what was rightfully theirs when they all quit their jobs en masse in support of a director who'd been fired. At least one fed-up worker denied taking any rare or valuable creatures and said that he only left with his personal pets that anyone can buy with 3 clicks of a mouse. Cambridge conceded that there were some disgruntled employees, but he adamantly denied their allegations and maintained that the museum operated under high standards of care. He also implied that the former staff members' complaints about him being difficult to work with were the result of him refusing to be bullied. After failing to raise enough money to revive the museum, he declared bankruptcy. The confusing and seemingly unresolved controversy is the focus of a 4-part IMDb TV series called Bug Out. 7. David Proudfoot. In one of the strangest Florida man stories of 2022, a 44-year-old Kissimmee resident named David Proudfoot was accused of stealing things from Disney resorts while posing as a security guard. Actual security guards at the Swan Resort Hotel grew suspicious when they saw the suspect pushing a cart near Epcot during the early morning hours in work pants and a bright orange work vest. When questioned by an Orange County Sheriff's deputy, Proudfoot allegedly led him into an employee locker room and tried opening a locker as proof that he worked at the property. He couldn't get the locker open, and when the deputy asked for his driver's license, he produced an ID bearing a different name than the one he'd provided just minutes earlier. According to authorities, Proudfoot eventually admitted to taking a game machine and an R2-D2 statue valued between $6,000 and $10,000. He reportedly claimed that he never intended to steal the items, but that he was trying to expose weaknesses in the resort security in hopes of landing a job with the company. Police didn't buy the explanation, and Proudfoot was charged with grand theft, petty theft, burglary, tampering with a coin-operated machine, and a scheme to defraud. During a search of the suspect's home, investigators found over $700 worth of stolen Disney property items, including custom light fixtures and a towel cabinet. Proudfoot also admitted to breaking into at least 3 arcade machines at Disney resorts just weeks earlier, according to an arrest report, although his reasons for purloining the company's property remain unclear. 6. 20-ton chocolate heist. Police in central Germany received a strange call in 2017 when someone stole a refrigerated semi-trailer filled with up to 20 tons of chocolate. The truck was carrying Nutella, Kinder Surprise eggs, and other chocolate treats with an estimated value of around $82,000. The theft occurred in the town of Neustadt at some point over a 2-day period, but investigators were unable to pinpoint a more precise time. They urged the public to be wary of anyone offering large quantities of chocolate via unconventional channels, and to report any suspicious behavior to law enforcement immediately. A police spokesperson said that the perpetrators would have needed a truck in order to pull the heist off, and that it wouldn't have been possible for them to carry out the crime with a car. At the time, authorities were investigating to determine whether the large-scale chocolate theft was possibly linked to an empty trailer that was also stolen recently in nearby Weimar. In another bizarre heist, a trailer filled with $82,000 of fruit juice disappeared from the northern town of Wittenberg. Law enforcement officials didn't seem to think the fruit juice theft was related to the chocolate incident, although the outcomes of the cases are unclear. 5. Melissa Bergman. In 2018, a homeowner in Deerfield Township, Ohio, went to the police with home security footage of a woman stealing a package off their front step. Officers caught up to the suspected porch pirate, 30-year-old Melissa Bergman, and when they pulled her over, they found multiple stolen packages in her car. She pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity, citing recent struggles with post-traumatic stress disorder and depression. She even said in a Fox 19 interview that she had considered taking her own life. While that's unfortunate and sad, the court decided that it didn't stop Bergman from understanding the difference between right from wrong, and that she therefore wasn't insane when she committed the thefts. She was found guilty and received a 30-day jail sentence followed by probation. The judge allowed her to serve the time on weekends so she could keep her job. In a Facebook apology, Bergman reiterated her mental health struggles. Bergman said that the string of thefts started when she got the compulsion to steal a package off her neighbor's porch one day. The next thing she knew, she was taking packages left and right and couldn't stop herself. Bergman said the ordeal ruined her marriage and caused her to lose custody of her kids. She vowed to turn her life around, but landed back in jail a year later for allegedly continuing to steal packages. In a letter to the judge, Bergman maintained her innocence, but she was sentenced to 6 months in jail. This time, she was required to stay behind bars full-time until her sentence was completed. 4. Wisconsin cheese thefts. In 2016, a truck driver transporting a 20,000-pound load of cheese from Green Bay to New York City unhitched his trailer and left it in a parking lot in Oak Creek, Wisconsin, while he ran an errand. When he returned, the trailer and its $46,000 cheese cargo were gone. The truck driver said that the parking lot, which belonged to a storage facility, seemed like a safe place to park the trailer. A year later, the Post-Crescent reported that the perpetrators were still at large, and the crime appears to remain unsolved. It was one of at least 3 major cheese heists that happened in Wisconsin that year. Months earlier, a trailer containing $70,000 worth of assorted cheeses vanished from a Milwaukee suburb called Germantown. Less than a week before that, a $90,000 load of Parmesan cheese went missing from the city of Marshfield in the central part of the state. The Parmesan cheese turned up a few weeks later outside a storage warehouse in Appleton. Then the assorted cheeses reappeared in a parking lot of a Milwaukee grocery store. Marshfield Police Lieutenant Darren Larson described the cheese robberies as sophisticated crimes that require a thorough knowledge of the shipping industry. And while it may seem silly or odd to steal tens of thousands of pounds of cheese, experts speculated that the thieves were motivated by its resale value. At the same time, it may have been more trouble than it was worth to pawn that much stolen cheese without having a buyer lined up ahead of time, according to John Umhofer, the executive director of the Wisconsin Cheesemakers Association. This could perhaps explain why the perpetrators ditched the ill-gotten dairy products. Author J.J. Coughlin agrees that food theft is more common than people seem to think. He told USA Today Network Wisconsin that it's not exactly a mafia-type crime, but it's highly organized in nature and typically involves a ring of at least 2 to 3 people. And the buyer is often a small mom-and-pop store or restaurant. 3. Vanished from valet. While vacationing in Dallas, Texas for the 4th of July in 2022, Linda Garcia and her family parked their 2017 Dodge Journey with a valet service for several days. On the 4th day of the trip, Linda called the service to let them know that she was on her way to pick up the SUV. The employee on the other end of the phone said that the vehicle and its key weren't there. Surveillance footage showed a man speaking with an attendant and pointing at the SUV. The employee appeared to hand over the vehicle without checking for the man's ID or some other documentation connecting him to the car, like a valet stub or proof of ownership. Linda couldn't understand why a staff member would hand the keys to her vehicle over to someone without making sure that the person had a valid reason to be in possession of the vehicle. She spoke about her experience with YourBasin.com reporters, who reached out to the valet company and received no response. When the Dallas police called Linda several weeks later and said that they'd found her vehicle abandoned, she thought the ordeal was finally over. The Garcias drove to Dallas to retrieve the SUV, only to realize that it was pretty much totaled. It was also filthy and appeared as if someone had been living out of it before it wound up at the impound lot. After concluding that it wasn't worth paying the $500 removal fee, the family decided to cut their losses and left the vehicle behind. Their insurance didn't cover the type of damage the SUV had sustained, leaving Linda and her partner with no choice but to rely on Uber and rides from friends to get to and from their jobs while they saved up for another vehicle. 2. Uncooperative kidnapping victims. In August 2022, police at the University of Albany received a 911 call from a couple who claimed they were fixing a flat tire on their car in a campus parking lot when two men approached them and robbed them at gunpoint. The alleged thieves then abducted the couple's young child and then fled the scene in a silver sedan. The victims got in their vehicles and chased the perpetrators' vehicles until they pulled over, dropped the child off on the side of the road, and sped off. After getting the kid back into their car, the couple continued following the suspects for a brief period before pulling over and waiting for police to arrive. In a safety notice, Police Chief Paul Burlingame wrote that the victims became uncooperative and left the scene after providing their story. He reassured the public that there was no evidence to suggest that the suspects or the alleged victims had any connection with the university, or that they posed a danger to anyone on campus. Burlingame said that the matter was under investigation and that authorities would continue to update the community on any developments. But it seems like nothing's come of the situation so far, making the already bizarre story seem even more suspicious. 1. Jeffrey Groover. After landing in federal prison for stealing the identities of several South Florida residents in the early 2000s, serial fraudster Jeffrey Groover seemed truly remorseful. He even testified before a U.S. Senate committee, offering tips on how to stop people from committing similar crimes. Groover claimed he resorted to theft out of desperation to feed his family after the small business he owned began to struggle. He apologized to his victims and promised not to commit any more financial crimes. After serving 4 years and being released in 2006, Groover managed to avoid any more legal trouble until 2012, when employees at a check processing company noticed that he was trying to cash tax refund checks in other people's names. He told the company that the recipients had turned the checks over to him as part of a promotion he was running for prepaid pest control services. Investigators soon discovered that one of the refund recipients had died years earlier, and the others were unaware that someone had filed a return in their name. Groover pleaded guilty to 4 counts of making and presenting false claims to the IRS. While awaiting sentencing, he was charged with attempting to steal $20,000 from a woman's home equity line of credit using a fake driver's license containing her information and his photo. In court, Groover claimed that he committed the crime because he was struggling to provide for his Ukrainian bride, and because someone was pressuring him to steal the money under the threat that they would force his new wife into prostitution. The jury was unconvinced and spent just 40 minutes deliberating before finding him guilty in 2014. He's currently serving a 13.5-year sentence, which will be followed by 3 years of supervised release. Thanks for watching. Would you rather suffer from the theft of a deeply sentimental childhood relic with little monetary value, or have your vehicle stolen and crashed without full coverage insurance? Let us know in the comments below and don't forget to subscribe. See you soon. Bye.